Would you prefer to be more intrigued, scared, or anticipated? That's not right grammar. During a crime drama, like while you're watching it.
Intrigued.
Why?
Well, because I want to be curious about what's going to happen next. I want to know what's going to happen.
But do you not think that the anticipation aspect is more important for being intrigued, or do you think that's something that is alongside it?
Well, I feel like they kind of go hand in hand, the anticipation and the intrigue.
Okay.
I think
No.
if the story is carried over the whole season rather than individual episodes, then that anticipation needs to be carried through.
Yeah, you'd rather be more scared short term if it was short
Okay.
episodes, self-contained, because then you keep the tension throughout rather than it slowly having to build throughout a whole series. With
Okay.
intrigue and anticipation, would have to be a part of that.
Awesome. Okay. So we can sort of go one by one for this one if you'd like. And this is, who is your favourite antagonist across any genre, and why?
I quite like the Joker in the Batman films because, you know,
It's classic.
it's a classic. It's a very long-standing kind of rivalry between them, and I just really think it's a great antagonist.
Well,
Um,
this can be in books as well. This is any genre
Oh.
of media.
right. I don't think I have a favourite because there's too many, but I'd say any that actually pose a threat to the antagonist, because that helps with...
Wait, any antagonist that pose a threat?
That poses an actual threat to the
Oh, okay.
main character.
Like, are there any that you think are like really classic?
Could say the evil queen in Snow White.
That's a valid point. Do you have one, Sophia?
I'd probably say Gustavo Fring from Breaking Bad because
Mm.
he sort of leads like a double life. Like he puts on a facade for his business, but then he's really sort of cold, calm, and collected for when he's sort of interrogating the protagonist.
Yeah, that's a really good one. Okay, so why do you, or why would you, watch a crime drama?
For entertainment, but more specifically to be thrilled. That doesn't make sense.
Like as a sort of escapism. So if your real life isn't as exciting, then you'd want to dip into something that isn't as like linear, so more exciting and action filled.
Okay, and so with, I suppose, a linear narrative for a crime drama, do you think that having the threats of the antagonist be more realistic, so crimes that would happen in real life, or more fictionalized with your sort of supernatural characters is more interesting?
I feel like more grounded in reality makes sense. So something that you could imagine happening, that could happen to you, definitely makes it a lot more intriguing and scary. Because it's sort of, you wouldn't want it to happen, but the fact that you know it could happen probably makes it more thrilling.
Okay. Do you not think that this is for everybody, do you not think that the fear of the unknown for a supernatural character, like not knowing the true extent of their capabilities, is more intriguing than a more realistic narrative, or the realism of the threat is more interesting?
I'd probably say unpredictability adds a sort of like ominous feel to crime drama. So yeah, I guess if you know a little bit less than maybe some of the other characters, it could add something.
Okay, that's really cool. Okay, so do you prefer for an antagonist to be defeated by the protagonist, by their own mistakes, or not at all? Like, what is your favourite way in which an antagonist is defeated if they are? Or do you prefer if they sort of prevail?
I like when the antagonist kind of prevails, because sometimes I think in certain media the antagonist is actually not really the antagonist, but the protagonist is actually the true antagonist.
Yeah, I think that can be said, especially for if the focus of a show is on the antagonist, you see them in a more multi-dimensional light, and sort of with more humanity, so I can understand how wanting them to prevail would be more interested in the protagonist. Do you think that there is less? Do you think that there is less opportunity on that well?
Do you want to repeat the question?
I will repeat the question. Do you think that there is less variation with what a protagonist can be in comparison to an antagonist?
Yeah, probably, because the point of a protagonist is for you to be able to root for them, generally, because you're usually expected to follow the protagonist no matter what they're doing. So you'd want variation in that, but at the same time that can make them less easy to root for, because if you gave them a problematic point of view, then it would be difficult to put your faith in them as a character.
But do you think that with a protagonist within a crime drama specifically focusing on law enforcement, that it can be hard to sort of separate a protagonist from, being a police officer or a detective, which can be limiting? Or do you think that that is like an integral genre convention?
I feel like it's too limiting, and then
Okay.
it's integral and it's limiting.
Okay.
So it's sort of forced on them, because you see so many detectives that are really similar in general disposition, which could just be stereotypical of the wrong, but they're all sort of mysterious, self-assured, and often not particularly nice to the people around them, which I feel like could be damaging as a stereotypical role that you have to deal with.
Okay, so talking about sort of integral parts of crime dramas and sort of non-negotiables, what are your stances on plot twists? Are they they must be in a crime drama, or do you think that there's some leeway and you'd rather see, I don't know, the narrative unfold in a more realistic way? I'm not sure. Anyway, stances on plot twists.
I think that they can definitely be effective if they're used correctly. I think if they're too obvious, in the lead up to it, it can take away some of the sort of dramatic effect it has. But if you can sort of work it out from small details, I think they can be effective. Yeah.
So if they're present beforehand.
Yeah, and you can just about.
Yeah. So they seem realistically set up.
Yeah, exactly.
So they don't take away from the plot if they're too ridiculous.
I
Okay.
think that they definitely add to the intrigue, though, especially if, like I said before, the plot is prolonged over a season.
Like when they've come up with so much evidence and it all points to one direction, then a new piece of evidence completely throws out the window.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
I feel like that can be overdone, and people could see that as it being used to just prolong a series. So
As long as it's not too obvious, I think
Yeah.
it's good. Yeah.
But I think if you can predict what's going to happen next, easily, it's not as interesting. So if there's a plot twist, it can make it more.
And then you won't want to keep
Different.
on watching.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Right, so this last question is a bit more left field. Do you find that your political views change your perception of police or detective characters in a crime drama? So you don't have to disclose any of your views, but do you find that the way that... Yeah, the question. Do you think that your political stance will change your perception of police or detective characters, whether they're a protagonist or not?
Potentially. I think it depends on how the detective or police character is portrayed, what kind of views they have and how they mix with my views, and if they do things I might not particularly agree with, for example.
News just needs to treat everyone in a very fair way and can specify their actions depending on the group of people. Like, you have to share everyone like the same.
I feel like it depends on where it's set as well, the country, because some of them I might be sort of more familiar with the legislation and things like that than others. So if I'm not too familiar with that, I think that can affect how I perceive it based on sort of politics.
Okay, thank you.